Hello guys and welcome to Pixel and Particle tutorial. Um, just wanted to cover this mostly for my own benefit, but also just in case anybody else was interested. So basically, this is my character at the moment. This is Maya 2017. And I am in the process of trying to figure out how to do her hair. So in my concept art, she has a sort of glitchy hair with pixels floating from the top of her head around here. It took me about 2 weeks to figure this out based on other tutorials that I've found and messing around with an awful lot of different settings. So hopefully it'll be smooth sailing now that I know what I'm, well, I say I know what I'm doing. Whoever really knows what they're doing in Maya. So I'm going to just go through what I found in a great way to make it look like you've got sort of floating pixels sort of emanating from the top of her head. I apologize in advance if my microphone is breaking up a bit. It is not the best in the world. Yeah, so let's just get started. So this is my character, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take her and hide her in a layer so that she is out of the way. And I'll do the same with the lighting as well. There we go. Just hide that out the way. Okay. So I have tried importing this from another file. It breaks every time because it's Maya. So I'm just going to start this fresh. So the first thing we want to do is go to FX feature if you're in 2017. It is slightly different in the previous versions if I remember correctly. I think it's the what is it, the rendering tab, I think, or no, it'll be the dynamics tab. Sorry, got that wrong. So you got your dynamics here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually create an object. One thing I found when trying to make a voluminous sort of amount of pixels rise is that when you have just a simple emitter, you don't get that volume. So I'm going to create an object first. I'm going to go to create polygon primitives and just a simple cube. Doesn't have to be too big. Something like that will do absolutely fine. Okay, just going to make that a little bit bigger. Okay, and then I'm just going to freeze transformations. It's just always a good idea just to freeze them to stop them from doing anything they're not supposed to. There we go, like that. And this will act as my emitter. So this will be where the particles sort of find their nucleus, where they grow from. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to nParticles once I've got my object selected, and I'm going to go to emit from object. If we just check our settings, it'll ask you to enter an emitter name. So I've chosen pixel hair just so that I know what it is. Generally, I went for Omni just because for the emitter type, just because it does give you a sort of more volume in the amount of pixels you get. You'll also get the same from a curve. Directional is more for singular directions, but that isn't as useful because we still want a sort of irregular amount of pixels to form. So just stick with Omni, that should be absolutely fine. And I only have the rate at about 6 particles being produced per second, so that's round about enough, I've found. The speed and the speed randomization is very low. I don't want this to be a flurry of pixels. I want people to actually see that it's just casual floating pixels. And that should be all that we need. So I'm just going to create that, and you will now see this little purple arrow poking out the bottom. And if I put that on wireframe, you can see that in there. So the N is the nucleus, this is the emitter, and the box is what it is emitting from. Okay. Now that we've got our emitter, we need pixels. So if I go to, let's see, it should be nParticles, create options. I have done them as balls, excuse my language. So that is, kitten on the laptop, let's get that U off. So that is probably the best one to use. 0.1 is fine. That one just has loads of tiny little particles in there. You can use that one, but I find that the balls one again gives you more volume, which is kind of what we're going for. So select that one, and then if I just go back onto shaded and then press play on my timeline, I'm just going to stretch that out as well, just so you can see the full. There we go. So that's going to start doing that. Now, it doesn't look like a lot at the moment, but that's absolutely fine. All right. So just start them off, start them playing, and then sort of pause it. Just leave it like that for a second. What I'm going to do, because I don't want these don't really look like pixels. What I want is some sort of different size square boxes. So I'm just going to create a whole load of randomized cubes. When I say a whole load, I mean 4, because you don't need to see any more than that. So I'm just going to create random sizes. I might just squeeze that a little bit, and then if I Shift and D and move that along, that's now created another shape. So I'm just going to do that and elongate that, and then I am also going to do that again with the square one. Let's do a really tiny pixel, just so that something like that. That's absolutely fine. And then I'm going to create another slightly rectangular shape. So I'm just going to stretch that out, stretch that up, and that should be absolutely fine. So I've got my 4 shapes there. I'm just going to quickly assign some colors to them as well, just so we can see the difference when it comes to figuring that out. So assign new material. I'm going to go with an AI standard shader if you have the Arnold preset. If not, then you can just go for a Lambert. The pixels are going to glow slightly, and with Arnold, the original Lambert shader glow does not work because it doesn't pick up those rays of light. So if you want them to glow, you want the AI shader. And then I'll go through that a bit later if I need to. But you can then add emission, and that will emit color, light, or plain light, depending on what color you choose. So let's just go for a really nice, vibrant color for each of these. Again, new color, material. Oh. Sorry, I have a habit of making weird noises. There we go. Probably should have thought this through before I started recording, but I am smart. There we go. And then do a slightly pink one. Okay, we'll go for red instead. Clearly, I do not know the difference. Right, so we've got our 4 shapes, and these are going to become our pixels once they are all done. Let's just get rid of all these here. There we go. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to shift select all of these, and then hold the shift down and click on this box here. Now this box is, as you can see, all the pixels that are being created. So then what I want to do is I want to go back to nParticles, and I want to go to Instancer. And what Instancer will do is it will put all of these objects into, replace all of the particles with these objects. So I'm just going to, that should all be absolutely fine for now. So just create that. And then we hit a problem. You'll usually encounter this most times when you do the instance, so this is absolutely fine, it's no problem. The issue is it's taking only one of the objects selected, obviously, and all we need to do is just add in a little extra code just to make sure it recognizes the other 3 objects there as a part of the system. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my attributes editor. I'm going to click on my particles, and then you'll see nParticle shape 1. That's the one that you want, okay? And then we want to go to instance. No, we do not. That is wrong. Bad girl. Go down. Mission. No. Where is it? Sorry. Having a moment. Oh my god, what are you doing, Freya? There we go, add dynamic attributes. I did know that, I'm just being silly. Right, so add dynamic attributes down by nParticle shape 1. Then you click on general, okay? And then it's gonna give you all this information. So basically all you need here, you need a long name. So I'm gonna go for custom pixel. Do not know how to type today. Pixel, there we go. And then you want to make sure it's per particle array in float and then keyable, okay? And that should all be absolutely fine. So then we just go to add. Now what you're gonna see here is if you go slightly down, you'll see per particle array attributes. And now in here, the custom pixel section has now popped up here. So we want to go down to that, and you want to right click and go to creation expression. Okay. And it'll bring up this one. So all you want to do here is Control C, Control V, and paste that expression there into here. Okay. And then we want to do space equals space RAND for random. Okay, so it's going to randomize all of those shapes. And then you want to open brackets, type in 0, comma, and then add in the amount of shapes that you want to randomize. So we've got 4. So I'm going to type in 4. And then it's going to recognize that the 4 objects that are associated with that emitter are going to be randomized and show up. So then you close the brackets, and then you want a semicolon. Okay. And then all you want to do is go to create, and that now has an expression popped up in here. So just close that window there. Then you want to go down as one more thing, down to general options. Okay, you want to go to object index, and you want to go down to custom pixel and add that in there as well. And what you'll find now that it's done that, hey, you have a whole load of different pixels that are randomized as well, which is fantastic. So that's now going to go all randomized, and that's going to create a really nice pixely effect. You can imagine when it's glowing a bit, you can see a bit of extra effect, which is quite nice. And if you want to resize any of them, if you're not happy with the volume or whatever, let's stop that a second. You can select them all and boost them up. Lower them down. You can change the shape. So say if I want to make this one here a bit more square, I can do that too. And yeah, so you get the idea. You can change it up. You can make it look slightly different. So that is what we've got at the moment. You can shade the nucleus as well if you want to, but you don't need to know that. You can figure that out yourself. So yeah. So now we've got our pixels, but the problem we have now is they are falling incorrectly. They are falling down. We want them to float up, which generally the pixels, the nParticles are always affected by gravity. So it's that can be a bit of an issue when you want things to float upwards. If you minimize the gravity, all it's going to do is disperse in one set area. It's not actually going to float upwards. So what we need is a goal. We need something for it to follow, basically. Okay. So if I open up my attributes editor, I'm going to go on wire shaded a second, and I am going to select that nucleus. Okay. So this is where everything starts to get a little more about playing around with levels. Obviously, if you're wanting different effects, if you're wanting different speeds from me and all that kind of stuff, then you can play around with all this too. But these are the ones that I chose to have. So gravity is at 9.8, which gives it a nice slow speed, which is really good. Put that back on shaded. You can see, oh no, there we go, cool. Yeah, if we can see all of that. Also gravity, I can slow that a bit more if I really want to. And you can see that's starting to slow down just a little bit. Wind speed will affect the direction that it is being blown in, and of course you can then change the direction, so you know, you can mess around with that as well if you absolutely want to. But yeah, we've already got some good levels here of speed and all that kind of stuff. So what we need now is a way to make it go upwards. Now, goals are generally how we do this. Now, what I can do now is I can create if I go into front view, there we go. Stop that there, just one moment. I'm just going to focus in on, oh god, okay, that's not what I meant to do. Right, let's just focus in on that. Bring us back to normal. So what I want to do now, you can create an object, you can create a curve, you can create whatever you like. I happen to prefer the curve in this instance. So I just want to do an EP curve tool. That'll allow me to draw it out myself. So I'm just going to do 2 or 3 points just in a straight line upwards. There we go, and then enter. And that's now created a nice line. Okay, you can see that there. And then what I want to do is, having selected that, I then want to shift select the particles, okay? And then I want to go back to nParticles and I want to create a goal, okay? Goal weight, reasonably low. Doesn't have to be. It depends on, again, the kind of effect you're going for. But okay, I think I've selected them the wrong way around. That's fine. We can change this. That's fine. Okay, and then back to nParticles and goal. Okay, so now that has resulted, which is absolutely fine. So now, if I play that, there we go. Yeah, so that's now starting to float up, as you can see, which is really great. It's exactly what I was hoping would happen. So now we've got some nice sort of pixely, crazy effects going on here. What I want to do is I want to make this constant. I don't want these pixels to reach the top and then start floating around. As cool as it is, that's not what I'm going for. I want them to start disappearing. So this is when we can start messing around with more of the levels. So let's just stop that a second. Perfect. Okay. So, lifespan. Got count. Got lifespan. This is what helps you decide how long the pixels last for. Do they fade out? Do they disappear after a few seconds? What happens to them? So, for this particular effect, I'm going for constant. So when I play that now, they will fade out after a certain amount of time. Like that, which is fantastic. You can see we're already getting that really cool pixely sort of fading effect, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Now with this one, collisions, we've got some collisions in there so that they're not all merging into one, which is quite good. Again, you can mess around with the scale of that. Now, also in collisions, what I played around with was the friction. If I lower the friction right down, that it doesn't really stick too well. But the more I layer up the friction, the more it sort of starts to become a bit sticky, basically. Same with the stickiness. If I'm doing that, it's going to become slower and it's going to start sticking more to the nucleus of the emitter. So I don't want any stickiness. That's absolutely fine. Dynamic properties. Again, if you want any wind, if you want some any of that going on, then you can do that too. Conserve is what gives it, for me, the ability to float upwards. The less conserve you have, the closer to the nucleus again that it's going to stay. I have a little bit of drag just to slow it right down, because sometimes gravity, you can put it all the way down and it still doesn't really affect it. So the drag just helps to slow it down a little bit more and give it that casual floaty effect. All of these different items here will change the way it behaves. So what you're looking for is completely up to you. You've got force fields, of course, that'll put it in different directions. Rotation as well, sometimes it can rotate the objects as they're floating, which again, if you're looking for a tumbling effect, that can be quite cool. Yeah, so that is everything basically. And then yeah, so let's have a look. So yeah, if we were to go for directional, that would change slightly without a goal. You can scale rate by size and speed, not completely necessary if you already messed around with all of this. Yeah, so that is how I managed to get a pixel effect. I remember it being a lot more complicated somehow. It probably was. But yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to message me. I am sure there are a few things I have missed out that actually got me to this stage. But some of the settings tend to save when you've messed around with them after a while. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to you in some manner. And hopefully I'll have something else to share with you another time. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.